Equinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte.
Good evening, viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, a 34-year-old woman is dead and her 42-year-old husband is the main suspect after a fatal domestic incident in Douala's 5th subdivision. The tragedy, which occurred in the presence of the couple's 2 young children, has left residents of the neighborhoods in shock and has reignited concerns over domestic violence in Cameroon. Plus, with political delusion deepening among young persons in Cameroon, Cameroonians, especially those of that category, following the 2025 presidential election in Cameroon, one question is increasingly being asked by political observers, political actors, and key leaders in Cameroon who can restore faith in the ballot box and offer a credible path to the change in the nation. This message echoed over the weekend from key political actors who have been multiplying efforts ahead of the much expected twin elections, calling the municipal and legislative elections in Cameroon. Now, we'll be measuring the fever from the weekend right up to today, Monday, in this edition of the news. Ladies and gentlemen, we're glad that you've chosen to be informed by the best of television. This is Equinoxe. We are live from our Central News Desk in Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city, Equinoxe Central News Desk. Welcome. I'm Sean Sander in Douala. Douala is the largest city across the Republic of Cameroon, but also within the Semak sub-region. It is Cameroon's economic capital city and, of course, the host city of Equinoxe Central News Desk. We are glad once again that you've chosen to be with us tonight for the fresh dose of our primetime news. Now, we're starting on human interest to say that the pain of Sunday's fatal road crash along the Yaoundé-Douala highway is still being felt in the New Bend neighborhood of the Douala 2 municipality, where 6 residents lost their lives as grieving families struggle to come to terms with their loss of the loved ones. Others are desperately seeking for help. Relatives who survived the crash say that it was an unimaginable moment. They are fighting hard to get their minds away from the shocking incident that saw their friends and loved ones gone. Details with Immaculate Fogwe in the following report.
The pain remains fresh in the homes of families who lost their loved ones in Sunday's fatal road accident along the Yaoundé-Douala highway. 6 victims from the Newborn neighborhood in Douala 2 subdivision are among those who perished in the crash, leaving their relatives devastated and struggling to come to terms with the tragedy. According to the daughter of one of the injured victims, her mother had traveled to Bafia, accompanying the corpse of 2 brothers to their final resting place when the fatal accident occurred. While her mother remains in a critical condition, her uncle lost his life in the crash. I found my uncle dead at the scene of the accident. His body was so badly damaged that he was barely recognizable. My mother survived, but she's currently in a critical condition. I am appealing to the government to honor its promise to take care of my mother's medical expenses alongside other injured victims. Elsewhere, the tragedy has left another family devastated. 41-year-old Mabe Sandrine leaves behind 3 daughters and a grieving family. My mother traveled on Thursday night and told me she will be back. Unfortunately, I was later told that she had lost her life. I feel devastated and deeply hurt by my mother's death. She was part of the delegation returning from Bafia when their vehicle developed a technical fault. The driver then arranged for them to continue their journey in a 19-seater bus. Sadly, the accident occurred around Edea. We were told the bus was attempting to overtake when it collided with the parked truck. For another family, the accident claimed the life of a 65-year-old mother. Her eldest son says they never imagined that a journey to accompany a loved one to their final resting place will end in tragedy. I was expecting my mother to return on Saturday night, so when she did not come home, I thought she had postponed her journey. But later that day, I received a call informing me that she was involved in an accident in Idea. We continued through the narrow passageways of the neighborhood, making our way to meet Landry, one of the survivors of the deadly crash. He may have escaped with his life, but a tragedy has left a deep mark on him. This survivor says he can only thank God for sparing his life despite witnessing the death of his friends and equally neighbors. He recalls that they were traveling near Puma, just a few meters from entering the town, when most passengers, including himself, were dozing off. Suddenly, the vehicle crashed violently. Those seated at the back woke up to the horrifying scene. 7 people died at the scene, while 10 others sustained serious injuries. Preliminary report indicates that the crash may have occurred during an attempted overtaking maneuver. The injured were evacuated to the Idea Regional Annex Hospital.
And that's sad indeed. Now we're going directly to politics without the transition to say that with political delusionment deepening among young Cameroonians following the 2025 presidential election and the aftermath, one question is increasingly being asked by political leaders, actors and observers in Cameroon: who can restore faith in the ballot and offer a credible path to change? The Young Jouvence opposition political party, led by Valet Bessala, is presenting itself as a path of this answer, a political cure that starts from the grassroots. The message came during the installation of 2 Jouvence subdivisional bureau members in the city of Douala as the party seeks to strengthen its presence within the Cameroonian society ahead of the legislative and municipal elections. Innocent Ase has more in the following report.
At the installation ceremony in Lokpom, Jouvence leader Valer Bessala installed the party's Douala 3 and 4 subdivisional bureau, another step in its drive to establish itself on the ground. The party says real change must begin with communities, with the municipal and legislative elections providing the first opportunity to win political ground and respond to the aspirations of frustrated Cameroonians.
Our main objective is change. We have to change our country. Change our country means that we have to pull out this president and all his team.
But beyond the coming elections, Jouvence is also weighing in on Cameroon's political future as public debate focuses on political transition, succession plans and questions over the ability of 93-year-old President Paul Biya to continue governing the country. Bessala also rejects the proposed vice presidency, arguing that it could alter the political equation and affect the party's plans for change.
I think it's not our problem what is happening in this country, talking about this regime. Our main objective is change.
Yet, Jouvence faces a major hurdle: rebuilding confidence among young Cameroonians discouraged by the 2025 presidential election outcome.
No, they should not give up, and they can't give up. And youth should understand that it's important for all of us to put a hand in political fight.
Actually, all is not good, and we will to transform the local politics to make our population be happy, to get great things in their country, and all these great things start by the localities.
The newly installed bureau members are now expected to mobilize voters, particularly young people, with loyalty and commitment at the center of their mission.
The youth should have an implication in politics, be conscious of what we have to do in terms of changing our country, develop our country, and we have to make sure that in next election, local elections, municipal and legislative elections, to have the majority, 90+1.
Our leader was here and he has installed us, and the job that we have been doing for some months back, we have been doing it in the closet, but today we have received a baptism of fire. So as we are going back today, we are going to explore for Jouvence And Bonaberi is going to fall in the hands of Juvan's political party. Rest assured for that.
Juvans says its footprint already extends beyond Douala 3 and 4 to Douala 5, Lum, Suza, and in the Nkam division, with plans for further expansion.
Another institution is standing up against another issue which is seen as a veritable threat to young persons in Cameroon. This time around is early marriages, in most cases involving young girls. It is the Bankim Municipal Council that's in the Dama region of the Republic of Cameroon. The Bankim Council officials, led by the mayor, say that they no longer want early marriages in their municipality. They are encouraging parents to see the need to send their kids to school, especially the girl child. It was in the course of an important sensitization meeting organized across Bankim, as Malak Glory tells us in the following report.
The Deputy Mayor of Bankim has launched a fierce public rebuke against early marriage and the lack of education for teenage girls in the Bankim subdivision. Speaking at a sensitization meeting in the municipality, local authorities directly addressed the issue of parents' haste in marrying off young girls, describing it as an unavoidable practice that has heavily impacted the Mambila tribe.
Because
in recent weeks, major cities across the country have been experiencing flash floods due to heavy rainfall. The authorities have issued warnings and advised those living in flood-prone areas to evacuate to higher ground. Here in the economic capital city, Douala, residents in areas like Ndobo continue to battle flooding on a daily basis. On a normal day during this rainy season, this is what Ndobo, precisely around Hilltop, Banso Quarter, looks like. With standing water everywhere, and residents grow restless whenever it threatens to rain.
We cannot actually go because when it's raining, even when it just starts, even it's in the night, we cannot more sleep again because we are afraid. The water is just too much.
And when it finally rains, houses are submerged in water, while some buildings are abandoned by their owners in search of safer places. Whenever it pours, it rains. And for residents of Ndobo, Banso Quarters and other areas in Bonaberi, the situation of flooding has become a usual occurrence due to shallow drainage system, poor infrastructures. While many have devised means to adapt to the situation, others are calling on the authorities to come to their aid. Roads are flooded to the point that both humans and animals struggle to find their way through the waters. Many are trapped in their homes and can only go out after the water has receded. And generally, it takes 2 days if there is no rain.
Maybe it can be for 2 or 3 days that we are there inside. Highest 2 or 3 days. If the rain continues for 1 week, you'll be there for the 1 week.
But if you must go out, you should be ready to walk barefoot through the water or wear seasonal footwear popularly known as chang shoes and boots. In order to better report this story, we also had to put on our chang shoes. We met with one of the victims of the flooding in Ndobo, and he recounted his experience trying to drain water out of his house following heavy rains the previous night. The rain, which hit the area from Saturday night into Sunday morning, destroyed his property and left him stranded.
Donc, lorsqu'il me réveille, je constate que je suis dans l'eau. Depuis 1 heure, j'ai perdu des choses. Mon lit.
About 2 kilometers away from there is the Banso Quarter, where residents woke up with their feet in water and their homes inundated. In Banso Quarter in Bonaberi, Douala 4 subdivision, where residents are trapped in their homes due to heavy flooding caused by intense rainfall the previous nights. Most people living in this area are internally displaced persons from the English-speaking regions of Cameroon who simply need shelter to survive. The people are accusing a domestic cooking gas distribution company operating in the area of constructing a poor drainage system that redirects water into the neighborhood instead.
After the construction of some drainage here that have sent water down this other way, they constructed a drainage and it crossed the road and came down this way, and there's no continuity of the drainage. That makes that the water now looks for its own path. It's able to flood and go into houses.
They have been suffering from frequent inundation in this area for the past 4 years, and their complaints to the local authorities have fallen on deaf ears.
Depuis 4 ans qu'on souffre de ça.
Due to the floods, Desiree, an inhabitant of Banso Quarter affected by the disaster, was forced to use a machete to clear grass around his house in order to create a pathway for the water to drain. Just like him, many have developed different methods to manage flooding in these neighborhoods. While waiting for the authorities to develop lasting measures such as constructing good drainage system to limit frequent flooding in these neighborhoods in particular and Douala 4 in general, residents continue to risk their lives and lost their property. Internally displaced persons, many of whom live in these marshy areas just to provide shelter for their families, continue to suffer the most from these floods.
Much thanks to Malak Glory and Chair Romanos for that major report. Now, we stay in Cameroon's economic capital city, Douala, to say that a major security operation has been undertaken by gendarmerie officials in some nightclubs of the city. In a surprise midnight operation, the Littoral Gendarmerie Legion officials stormed several snacks bars in nightclubs with the aim to curb drug abuse, but they were said to have been surprised with the presence of minors and also the growing insecurity in Cameroon's economic capital. The gendarmerie officials, however, have said that it is an operation which will soon last, and they are hoping to have the expected results, as Martin Jikangebe tells us in the following report.
It is midnight in Douala, amidst a smoky atmosphere, flickering light of nightlife. The elements of the Littoral Gendarmerie Legion storm in snack bars, dance hall, and high-end nightclubs. In this surprise operation, the gendarmes are determined to restore order. The objective is clear: crack down on the most disturbing violations that have now become commonplace in nightlife spots. On the checklist, the presence of minors in nightclubs, the open consumption of psychotropic substance, and the dangerous diversion of products like nitrous oxide, a gas normally used in medicine and catering, but now inhaled by youth for its short-lived euphoric effect. On site, the picture is alarming. Our cameras capture what has become a sad routine. Hookah pipes passed from table to table, synthetic drugs consumed without restraint, young girls and boys, some barely 16, completely intoxicated, all with total disregard for the health and legal risk. Yet, the law is clear. No Cameroonian legislation authorizes such practices. In fact, in most of these venues, prohibition signs are clearly posted at the entrance, but profit seems to have taken precedence over the law. According to reports from the gendarmerie, some venue owners, shielded by influential godfathers in the administration, the judicial and even law enforcement, deliberately turn a blind eye, prioritizing gain over the safety of their customers. These excesses are directly linked to a rise in assaults, fights, and a serious decline in public morals in the economic capital. Another disturbing factor adding to the insecurity, the massive and uncontrolled presence of undocumented foreign nationals in the commercial motorcycle sector who infiltrate the ranks of legitimate riders to commit offenses, especially late at night. Faced with this, the National Gendarmerie, under the command of Brigadier General Quinoxetv Noko, commander of the 2nd Gendarmerie Region, acting on high instructions from the Secretary of State for Defense in charge of the Gendarmerie, they said, has decided to act. Operations will now be multiplied at unpredictable hours to catch offenders and their accomplices off guard. The time of laxity is over. Order must return to the night of Douala.
And on to one of our lead stories. A 34-year-old woman is dead and her husband, 42 years old, is the main suspect in Douala after a fatal domestic incident in the 5th subdivision of the city. The tragedy, which occurred in the presence of the couple's 2 young children, has left residents of the neighborhood in total shock and reignited concerns over domestic violence, as staff man Babila Jonathan tells us in the following report.
A home transformed into a crime scene, a scene of violence and death in Bendel City neighborhood of the Douala 5 subdivision. A 34-year-old woman has been killed in her residence, wounded on several parts of her body, allegedly by her 42-year-old husband, Eve, who is said to have used a machete to commit the crime.
Au moment du crime, les enfants étaient dans la maison.
The couple's 2 children, aged 3 and 6, were inside the house when the incident occurred. Bendel City community leader Tamga Guillaume tells us that
Le premier était en train de crier que papa est en train de couper maman.
Neighbors heard screams and rushed to intervene, but the doors were locked from inside, preventing them from immediately gaining access. By the time help arrived, the woman was dead. Those who knew her described her as a cheerful and well-liked member of the community. Her death has sent shock waves through the neighborhood. Ndogbon village traditional leader, His Majesty Pierre Lucien Kwa, is overwhelmed by the tragedy, the first of its kind in that part of Cameroon's economic capital, Douala.
J'ai un peu vu des images, ça m'a dépassé de voir. Tellement au sang qui coule au Cameroun.
Worried about the recent upsurge of bloodshed in such incidents, he calls for justice.
Nous espérons que la justice va vraiment devoir faire son travail.
The incident has also raised fresh concerns about violence within households and the vulnerability of children who witness such traumatic events.
Les autorités doivent punir les pareils gens. Même condamner à mort même ne suffit pas.
She wants government authorities to take tougher measures to stop the recent killing of women, adding that enough is enough. Police have opened an investigation to establish exactly what happened inside the home and determine the circumstances leading to the woman's death.
And that's all for the first part. Coming up is Talking Points. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us on Talking Points. Tonight we're receiving a well-known political commentator in Cameroon. He is a civil society actor and, of course, a traditional authority and at the same time a key political observer in Cameroon. Tonight our guest is joining us from the 5th subdivision of the city of Douala, from the Makepe Misoke neighborhood. He is Chief Dr. Joseph Mofo, who's accepted to be guest. Chief Dr. Joseph Mofo, thanks for accepting to be guest on Talking Point tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fumi. Thank you for inviting me in Equinoxe television as a guest today, the 24th of August 2026. Thank you very much. This is really grandiose. It has been long I've not been in your program again. Thank you very much.
Much thanks once again. Now, we talk the major news story in Cameroon. Since the weekend, President Pobia returned to Cameroon. He is finally back, of course, after a long, controversial 42 or 74 days stay out of the Republic of Cameroon. Chief, as a Cameroonian, a well-known Cameroonian figure, do Cameroonians like yourself now clearly understands what kept President Pobia away for 74 days?
Thank you, Mr. Fumi. Thank you for the question. The head of state, our president, His Excellency Pobia, we don't actually understand what is going on. Rather, it's problems of health issue or political problems, or he traveled to Switzerland to go and sit down and work since the elections go through and there were some
And of course, yeah, we're sorry for that issue there, that interruption there. Now, I was just asking if Chief, like many other Cameroonians, do understand what kept the president out of the frontiers of Cameroon for 74 days. It is important to note that it's been a long stay, an unusual long stay out of Cameroon that has been marked by numerous controversies and, of course, versions contradictory coming from top government officials. Some at one point saying that he was on his annual leave, others are talking about a brief stay out of the territory. And, of course, many should be wondering whether Cameroonians by now understand exactly what kept the president as he's returned to the country and is where at the Unity Palace. And of course, we're sorry for that interruption there. We will surely be hooking up with Chief Dr. Joseph Mofo in subsequent editions of News on Equinoxe television. We're sorry for the hitches there. And of course, with him or any other person, we're going to be analyzing just the president's comeback, the key files on the table, issues to be discussed vis-a-vis the development, the well-being and effective functioning of the government and the nation of Cameroon, as well as issues that should be handled even before the much talked about municipal and legislative elections in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all for tonight. We thank you once again for your keen attention, urging you to continue to stay in the company of interesting programs on Equinoxe. At 8 p.m., you're going to be having a full edition of News. It will be in the French language. I'm going to be back here tomorrow at 6 p.m., God willing. Goodbye.